Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson with you today for the Women at Halftime podcast, and we have a wonderful episode for you. And my husband, Greg, will be joining me today. We are on together once a month. And today we are going to dive in to the importance of quarterly updates for personal and professional growth. And throughout this podcast, we will explore the numerous benefits of conducting regular reviews, such as accountability, progress tracking, and adaptability. Now, stay with me here. We will discuss how setting clear objectives and priorities for the upcoming quarter, it lays the foundation for success. And we'll guide you through some of those steps for conducting a comprehensive quarterly review. This is especially wonderful for entrepreneurs. So from analyzing review findings to making necessary adjustments and fostering effective communication and accountability, well, we'll provide you with actionable insights to implement quarterly updates effectively. So whether you're an individual striving for personal goals or a business aiming for growth, well, this episode is packed with valuable strategies to help you thrive. This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media with resources and ideas for you at Midcareer or Halftime of Life. Check out our online courses where we want you to not only start, but finish. Books available in all versions and songs available for immediate download with sheet music and instrumental accompaniment tracks. Our musicals are family friendly with great music that's memorable and inspiring. Sign up at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter for weekly updates. Now to our episode. Well, hello, here we are together. This is Greg and I together.
Hi, everybody.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad that you're with us today with this quarterly updates and how we are going to do kind of some evaluation. And the timing of this is perfect because it is being released about that first quarter time. So anyway, we're going to kind of dive into this in, first of all, why these are important. And I wanted Greg with me today because he's had such a financial background, and these are really good coming from that financial point of view. And I'm coming from the entrepreneurial point of view as well. So why don't you start out in why this is so important, and I'll add my 2 cents.
Well, I think in the same way that we do commitments at the beginning of each year, personally, business-wise, we get focused for a little bit, and then suddenly life starts running at us, whether it's business or our personal life, it just starts running at us. And we had good intentions in January, and near the middle of March, we were full into it. And one of the things that's worthwhile to do is every quarter, take just a moment and think back as to what was I trying to get done? And then ask the question, how am I doing towards that? And then go further. If I'm doing well, why? If I'm not doing well, why? And just, reevaluate where you're getting feedback. Is it good feedback? If sales are good, was it my fault, or did I just happen to hit the market at the right time? So those are questions that if you'll weigh in, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, but if you'll weigh in, then you can get focused for the next quarter. So how did I do?
Yeah, this is great. And coming from my end as an entrepreneur, I wasn't really used to doing these quarterly updates, and I'm doing them more often now. And it's really very helpful because usually it's at the end of the year, and now I'm looking at yearly goals, and I'm looking at my costs and all of my outlay for any sort of subscriptions and all of that. And now going through these quarterlies, I'm thinking, okay, so exactly what you said, what is working, and what I want to build on that. Whatever is working, I want to build on. and I want to add to. And as I've shared before, I've just really watched my monthly subscription rates. I'm trying to get lifetime deals, which I am. There's a great app, if you're not familiar with it, is called AppSumo, and where if you keep watching, you can find some great deals. It's a lot of startups trying to build their base, and you get lifetime deals, which are wonderful. I've had some wonderful programs come through there. So I think if you have to keep watching, and there's others as well, just that promote those sort of things. So yeah, seeing why it's working, why it's not. I think that those are really good points. So let's talk about kind of the process, because I know what my process, I kind of just have my lists of things. What sort of process? I mean, you were in the financial, you were in RIA. So what process did you go through?
So to maybe make it reachable, there's two sports that I'm familiar with that break things down into quarters, football and basketball. Okay. And generally, the thing that's true about measuring quarters as opposed to measuring a whole game or a whole year is if you can figure out how to win each quarter, you'll end up winning the game. And if you think about it from a football or basketball standpoint, you don't even have to win all 4 quarters. You could win 2 quarters and still win the game. So, and the same thing's true of your business year. So, and those sports break down and measure how, each quarter goes. For instance, how many shots did I get off in basketball? How many of those were quality shots? In football, how many plays did I run? How many times was I 3rd and long versus 3rd and short? They call that being behind the sticks. So even sports breaks down things into quarters. And I know many of you probably aren't super familiar with sports metaphors or the terminology in basketball or football. However, I think you can grasp that the more you can, understand your quarter and understand the idea of winning the next quarter, I think you'll stay more focused. And you probably believe this is true, that it's easier to stay focused for a minute than it is for a year. And in the same spirit, it's easier to stay focused for a quarter than it is for a year. A quarter is 90 days. It's 3 small months. And if you can stay focused, and then, near the, second or third week of each quarter, start to reevaluate, okay, where am I headed? How did I get here? Those kinds of things. I think you'll find it pretty helpful, and it helps you stay focused. Because if you only measure your results once a year, or when you're running out of money, you tend to gloss over a lot of details. And when you stay in the weeds every quarter, you'll capture more of the details. And so some of the details are, let's say you started January with a fresh set of goals. Here we are in middle of March, and we're thinking, how are we doing? So for instance, if you're in the housing market, lots of people can sell houses when interest rates are low and everything's flying off the market. People are bidding up prices. However, when interest rates go up and the market is cold, nobody wants to sell. It's a lot harder to make a sell. And perhaps at that point in time in the business cycle, instead of trying to beat your head against the wall and sell something that just isn't going to sell, maybe this is a perfect opportunity to be expanding your network, to be rebranding yourself, to perhaps figuring out, how do I hire the next group of agents to come learn this business. Maybe it's a good time to begin networking with lenders and appraisers, and because they're not doing anything either. So there's different goals you can set at different times in the business cycle. If you happen to be selling a product or a service, let's make it a service. Perhaps you thought that you'd be able to sell the service. Now here it is in the middle of March and nobody seems to be buying, but maybe they're buying your competitor's product. So try to figure out, okay, why are they buying the competitor? Analyze their marketing. One of the things I used to do is talk to my vendors, and vendors had because they had relationships with my competitors, they could tell me what was selling, what wasn't selling, why was it selling, and I could make my own evaluations as to, did I want to focus on that area? Did my competitors have an advantage that I didn't have? Was there an advantage I wasn't taking advantage of? So vendors are a good source of information and feedback as to where the market's going. And that's kind of what you want to do. One of the things about plans is you can't be caught up in the past. You plan something in January. Well, January is 2.5 months in the rearview mirror now. What's going to be going on in June? That's what we need to be thinking about. And is my current plan going to be able to take advantage of the competition, the needs of the market in June? Not, did I meet the needs of January?
Wow. As you can see, there's so much wisdom in that. And every time we're on, especially we are together with one of the financial sort of principles, I'm like learning something. It's like, okay, I'm gleaning as much as maybe all of you who are listening. Hopefully that was very, very helpful. But a couple takeaways, and I think it comes from when I come from the gig economy, where you're always looking for the next gig and you're kind of panicked. Okay, what's on the calendar? What do I have? What do I have? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we are the same way. We are thinking, okay, it's not selling as much. It's not, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Instead of relaxing a little bit and saying, okay, well, so let's relax.
Well, and something Debbie and I used to do a lot when she was booking, venues for concerts, is we were constantly asking ourselves, what's the market feedback?
Yes.
What's the market telling us? Because the market will tell you what it needs and wants. And then you got to figure out, why does it need that? Why does it want that? And do I have a current product that they want? Or do I need to tweak something in order to meet that? And another thing, the market is giving you feedback. So if it's buying what you're selling, but they're not buying it from you, it's probably your marketing.
Yeah.
Your marketing's not suggesting that, at least not effectively, to the market, that your service or your product meets what they are currently buying and needing. And so the market gives you feedback, and that's the conversation Debbie and I used to have all the time. Is what's the market feedback?
And it's still the conversation in many ways, because I've been bumping up, promotion, because I have so much product, and I not only have online courses for professional development, but I also have a lot of sheet music. And sheet music it kind of dribbles dribbles those sales, but it's all residuals. Once it's up, it's up. I don't have to fool with it.
Right.
I can just bump up the price if I want, but it's done. It's already done. So, but I'm adding to that. So year by year, that's part of my evaluation and going seasonally now. And I've really kind of changed my marketing structure for that. And just to make sure that seasonally I can put out more information about, holiday things like coming up here as this is being released. It'll be Easter songs and worship songs, because people, are looking for those for, worship events and churches and all of that.
And that was something else. So the other thing is that you got to think through all your products. and go, is there a seasonality aspect to whatever you have available for sale?
Mhm.
And we used to talk, and we still do, about the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
So as you can imagine, selling sheet music for Christmas in March
Yeah.
is beating your head against the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easter, though, makes much more sense. Debbie's got a great song for Valentine's Day that she marketed, and sales tend to go up and down around Valentine's Day. She's got some great stuff for Father's Day, and all of this stuff is programmed now so that she just gets prompts that come up and say, okay, it's time to start marketing this.
Right.
But it becomes, it's like when our fruit comes in. In June the apricots come in, and there's nothing to do but pick. And the same thing's true with your business. Almost all businesses have some sort of seasonality, and you just need to be planning ahead of time in terms of staff, in terms of marketing, in terms of inventory, making sure you can deliver as much as possible. It was funny. One of my first jobs back in college was selling. I was in charge of the concessions at our basketball games in college. And one of the things I noticed, like second game in, is 90% of the sales happen at halftime. So if you miss halftime, you missed. So having more volunteers than I could possibly ever imagine to sell, this cheap stuff for outrageous prices for 20 minutes is what I needed to do. If I had this much space for most of the game to sell stuff, for the 20 minutes at halftime, I needed this much space and this many more volunteers, because you didn't want anybody walking away without having a Coke and a candy and a popcorn, because the profits margins are about 98% on all that stuff at a sporting event. So you got to be ready.
Yep.
And then as soon as halftime's over, everybody can go away. And you can start folding up the tents. Right. And the same thing's true with your business.
Yeah.
So and that's part of the evaluation process. We're here in March. The spring is coming upon us, and then summer.
Yes.
How did you do, and what are you going to do to take advantage of what's coming next?
Right. And something I've learned too is to back up my marketing plan a little bit too. I mean, we were discussing me putting out emails, and you said, I think you need to start a week earlier. It's nice that I have, a sounding board here, and thinking, okay, I need to start a little bit earlier. That means I have been, right now, getting some other product ready, and I didn't realize I didn't even have some of the things that I needed to. I needed to talk to a producer. He's in Hawaii, so we got all that straightened up.
But that's a fruit of planning and reevaluating.
Right.
You suddenly become aware. Oh, I have this need, and you can get it done
in a timely
manner. Advance.
Yeah, everything's done then. So that's, I think, the planning part, and then also the evaluation. And I've learned too, and I'm still learning actually the value of data. And I've never been a real big data girl, but finding out, okay, so what are they clicking in my email? And I just changed my big email platform. It was a huge change for me this year. And I love it, actually love it. But it was some adjustment, and now just really tracking. I had been able to track before, but really seeing where people are doing those clicks and what are they interested in. And that gives me more data. And Google Analytics, you can do a lot of that. I mean, you can get overboard on it too, but at least you can see, okay, what pages are they clicking? Where are people curious, at least? And can I lead them somewhere else? Can I put more links on that? What can I do with that?
Right.
So, yeah.
And continuing on the planning stage, so your planning journey was one thing, but and you've all heard this: plans last until you make contact with the enemy.
Mhm.
And then everything's adapting. And like I said, the market's giving you feedback constantly. And you only need to take time once a quarter to measure the market's feedback. But as the market gives you feedback, you're constantly in an adapting mode. As you guys are watching this, NCAA men's basketball is in March Madness. And every game, what will happen is the coach will have a plan, both on offense and defense. And the game starts, and to nobody but the coach, you don't see that there's constant adaptation going on, because you had a plan to run the offense through one guy, and another guy gets hot, and suddenly you have to figure out, okay, how do I take advantage of this guy that's hot? The other defense adapts. Somebody gets in foul trouble, and now you got to play without the guy you were counting on. So all of this change is going on constantly. And remember, it's in quarters, and it's the team that can win the most quarters. Actually, college basketball only has 2 halves. Forgot, but
Principles there.
But you got to stay focused in the morning and the moment, and adapting, and that's what this video is all about. Is start with a plan, adapt a plan, and then move on to focusing on to that next quarter with a slightly modified plan, and attack it just as hard as you attack January.
Right. And it's really helpful to divide that up. You're not overwhelmed.
Yeah. Because you can focus on a little bit.
Yeah, the overwhelm thing. And I talk about this a lot in my Hero Mountain Summit course. And we go through, that's why there's small little steps, 60 small steps, accountability, how important that is. Because people have a hard time just getting into that system, but it is making small little tweaks, and that you're able, it's not overwhelming. That's the important thing is, we can overwhelm ourselves easily, especially if you're type A. I am a type A personality. So anyway, isn't that funny? I married an athlete. I knew nothing about this, but I have gotten to know it.
I'm your compliment.
Yes, very much a compliment. Although we both know entertainment extremely well.
Right.
Yeah. And we understood that. Greg understood me. I understood you on that. So that was a good thing. So and making adjustments. I think that, in being willing to do that, and not following the path of insanity, doing the same thing that's not working over and over and over again. We've all heard that so many times. So, well, let's talk about maybe communication, maybe some accountability. I have a wonderful accountability partner sitting right next to me. So where you asked me, okay, how's it going? What are you doing with this season? And a lot of times I bring those up too, because I want to talk through things. But how are some ways that we can be accountable? I mean, we can have friends that we're accountable to. We can have mastermind groups. Those are great. If you have that, if you have a coach, you have a guide. But there's also a lot of self-accountability and keeping track yourself. There's a lot to that, and not just always depending on another group or another person or an association or whatever. So I think that's a very important thing. And you ran a business, so you were doing a lot more of these financial, sort of evaluations and with that. But how did that, with accountability, with self-accountability, can you add to that? Because it's a nice place. We'll sum all of this up and make sure that you click in with the article that comes with this, because I will give you some real takeaways on it and some more sources. So let's talk just briefly about accountability and how we can help stay on track.
Well, I think accountability starts with being willing to ask the right questions. So in my business, like I mentioned, I'd ask vendors, and I wanted to make sure I was staying in the top 10% of their producers. And I had 3 or 4 key vendors, and they were giving me market feedback. They'd also give me current research to read So I think finding sources like that are pretty important. A lot of people today are counting on podcasts, but podcasts aren't intimate, meaning they don't know anything about your business.
Right.
So the next thing I would probably do, if you're an entrepreneur, you probably know 2 or 3 other entrepreneurs. And what I would suggest is instead of hiring a coach to hold you accountable, why don't you get 2 other people who are running their own business, and in the first week of the 3rd month of each quarter, get together and just say, let's get together and talk about what's working and what's not working. And just brainstorm. You'd have to be willing to share about your business. They got to be willing to share about theirs. But creative thinkers tend to become pretty creative when they're thinking about other people's businesses. It's interesting. Like, I can do wonderful things for Deb's business, way beyond anything I could do for my business. And the same thing's probably true with you. Is that you have some sneaking suspicions of things that might work for you, but boy, the guy down the street, you're talking over coffee or at a party, and you've got a zillion creative ideas for them. Yeah, and that's just the nature of creative people. And when for whatever reason, I think Disney figured this out, is if you get creative people in a room, it creates a synergy and an energy that is really valuable. And I think that'd be worthwhile. So if you imagine, if you did this the first week in March, and then which is the last, and then the
week in June,
the first week in June,
yes,
you get some ideas, and then you evaluate yourself by yourself the second week in June. And and you're not going to create a brand new plan. You're just adapting to what's going on, and hopefully implementing a couple of good ideas. Right. And if you just put that into your calendar, you're going to be in January. In March, June, September, and December. That first week in December, right after Thanksgiving, where everything gets crazy, and you're good to go.
Yeah. I liked what you said too with creativity, and I think this is the last thing we'll touch on here today. But it's important to not just be limited in the field that you are at. Right. I think it gives me a lot of, because when you were talking about sports, that totally clicks in with me right now, because I've been around it for a lot more years. Yeah. And we've had kids, sons that all have been in sports. And so now that's making a lot more sense to me. But I think it's helpful to have friends and colleagues in other areas that it'll spark some creativity. There's a lot of this, being like on the edge. So if it's something that's not your complete business, but it's on the edge, all of a sudden, and that's why going to even some of these conferences are really cool to do, because you can go to a conference and get something out of it, even though it's not in your field at all. Right. It sparks ideas, and so not to be afraid of that.
Getting your course.
Yes.
As opposed to a conference where the information can be adapted to a specific business, is even better than a conference. Right. Because, you're going to come at a problem, a typical way. Right. If you get with somebody else, they come at this problem slightly at a different angle. Right. And that different perspective can really make a difference.
It really can. That's the value when you started talking about sports today, when I was like, aha. And also when you were talking about some of the areas in finances, because we've talked a lot about it, but I'm still, we should all still be learning, but I'm definitely still learning on my path there. And so I think that's very, very valuable to have that sort of network. And the networks are good too. that are in your field, like National Speaking Association that I've been a part of for years. I've been a part of musicians unions and all of that too. So there's a value in that you do learn, and you're inspired by others that are doing different.
Well, but they're also sharing same challenges,
right?
And either validating or invalidating some of the market feedback that you're experiencing.
Right. So, well, we've touched on why it's so important. We've touched on ways to evaluate and all of these different ideas. And again, I'll sum those up in the article about, going through all the areas and when to, I'll back it up even a little bit earlier and see how things are going and get feedback from, vendors or the market or even competitors. A little secret that I do is sometimes I save emails that come from competitors and I think, okay, this looks very cool. I'd like to do something like that. And it's a guide. It's very interesting thinking, I'm not really including that in my emails. Maybe that would be important. So I like to save some of those, at least as a guide. I'm sure people do the same thing with mine, which would be a big compliment. And also, just not being afraid to change, all of that. Do you have any last words for us on this?
No, it was good to think through this and share it with everybody. And hopefully they took, one or two good ideas away and it'll make a difference next quarter.
Yes, I hope so too. That's why we're doing this. It's for you. It's fun for us, but it's really for you. And so I hope you gain something out of this, and make sure that you click in every single week. And we love this. I love doing the podcasts, and I'm booking in a lot more guests this year. So you will have many. Make sure that you're following so you don't miss a single episode. And a lot of them come out with articles and our weekly newsletter as well, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And you got that all from, I mentioned that toward the beginning, but I want to make sure that you do that and get our books and everything else as well. So thank you again. Thank you for joining me.
Sure.
This is great subject to hit today together. So, and all of you have, we will see you then again next time. So bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.